John is a relationship manager in one of the leading banks in India. Last week when he called me, he sounded particularly dejected that despite being a top performer at that bank, among some other team members who he would describe as mediocres at best, he is the one who constantly gets bombarded with newer challenges thrown at him, while others in the team just get a chilled out time. What's worse? Well, John's manager is so dependent on him that he does not even want him gone from his vertical, let alone the organization. But all this for what? He says that the manager feels that the client is going to be very upset seeing John go. Let's find out in today's podcast what John can do to come out of this quagmire. Welcome back to yet another episode of The Learner, where we explore the dynamics of leadership in the corporate world. I'm your host, Abhi Sharma. I have 15 years into building and leading global high-performance teams and also creating as well as working with some eminent leaders across the world. Today, we are diving into a topic many of you achievers will find all too familiar: the hidden punishments of high-performance workers, also known as the performance punishment. I was reading a rather insightful article the other day, which was published on Your Tango and written by Zaida Slebakun. A shout out to Zaida. I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation of your name here. But yeah, all the listeners should certainly read that article that I will try to link somewhere in the show notes below. But more importantly, I thought this will actually be a great topic to discuss with you, especially the budding and young leaders, as it really probes into one of the biggest mistakes leaders get into the habit of making. I'll be sharing some real life stories from my corporate experience latitude. So let's jump right into it. So back to John's case first. Now, what I find particularly surprising is how is he unable to have a conversation with his manager? Because it all begins there. Now, my advice to anyone going through the performance punishment is to schedule some time with your manager and explain to them why and how this performance punishment is doing more harm than good. This discussion, however, needs to be a well thought through discussion. You've got to be able to communicate this with the manager, not so much as a complaint, but more from a consultative standpoint where you are trying to appeal to your manager's pragmatic sense of judgment of the situation. They need to be able to support your mental health while ensuring you are being given a fair chance to grow. Now, this is the first step, and in case this is too logical for your manager to understand, well, you're smart enough to know what your next step should be. Now, if you're a leader listening to this podcast, there are a few extremely crucial lessons for you ahead. So let me dive right into it. Now, as per Zaida's article, there are a few performance punishments that you are likely to get for being a rock star at work. The first, and becoming widely infamous these days, is dry promotion. Now, much like John, Priya, a software engineer at a leading IT company in Bangalore, Priya is known for her stellar performance. She constantly delivers high-quality work, mostly ahead of her deadlines. Her reward? Well, you guessed it, more projects. But here is the kicker: no extra pay. Priya felt honored at first, but the increased workload without financial recognition led to burnout. She eventually quit for a company that valued her contributions appropriately. So what's the leadership lesson here? It is crucial to recognize and compensate your high performers adequately. Rewarding employees with additional tasks without appropriate compensation can lead to burnout and dissatisfaction. Ensure you have a structured recognition program that includes financial rewards, promotions, and other benefits. This not only motivates the employees but also sets a positive example for the entire team. Coupled with that, leaders must regularly review their team's workloads and adjust them to prevent burnout. Remember, a valued employee is a retained employee. I sincerely hope that John's manager is listening to this podcast and would be able to retain him. Our next story is about Uchit, a marketing manager in Mumbai who has a knack for running super successful campaigns. His reward? The most challenging clients and projects. Yes, that's what he gets for being a performer. Right after joining, while Uchit soon became the rock star in the team, the relentless pressure began to affect his health and even personal life, even leading to insomnia and frequent headaches. As a result, Uchit had to negotiate a more manageable workload with his boss. So as leaders, we must balance the workload to prevent overburdening the top performers. While it is important to trust high achievers with critical tasks, it is equally important to monitor their stress levels and overall mental health. Now, how do you do that? Well, encourage open communication, allowing employees to voice concerns about their workload. Implement wellness programs and provide resources for stress management. Hell, give them a mental health leave or two every few weeks. Why not? Regularly assess and redistribute tasks to ensure a fair balance. Only a healthy employee, both physically and mentally that is, can make a productive employee. Always remember that. The next punishment that Zaida talks about is among the most unfortunate ones, which is making enemies out of jealous co-workers. And Zaida has actually described it beautifully. In my own experience, I've lost count of how many co-workers I have seen become passive-aggressive just because I was performing and growing before their very own eyes. Now, back in the day, it did used to take a toll on my morale and productivity, I won't lie to you. But really, there's not a whole lot I could have done about it. But what could a leader seeing such issues creeping in his or her team do? Well, for one, fostering a collaborative environment is the key to mitigating jealousy and ensuring team harmony. Mitigating, that is, not completely eliminating jealousy because it's a human vice and it is, too utopic an idea to even assume. Also, by promoting a culture of mutual respect and recognition where success is celebrated collectively as a team. Organizing team building activities to strengthen relationships and encourage peer support. But more importantly, addressing any signs of jealousy or conflict promptly and fairly, nipping that in the bud. Leaders can take care of such issues for the most part. The last type of punishment that Zaida talks about in her article is usually beyond one's control, and that is facing your manager's wrath because they are too insecure. Here's a quick story for you. Let's talk about Amit, a rising star in finance firm in Pune. Despite his significant contribution, Amit's boss felt threatened and consistently undermined him. Any guesses what would have happened? Well, that toxic environment that the boss created out of his insecurity led Amit to document all his contributions, and he started building alliances with the higher management. Not a great thing to do, but such bosses rarely leave any other options for the employees. So what can leaders learn here? Supporting and uplifting their high performers rather than feeling threatened by them is among the biggest favors any leader can do to himself or herself. For the life of me, I've just not been able to understand all along my career journey is that why having smart workers in your team a harm in any way, shape or form. As a matter of fact, if anything, this should be looked upon as an opportunity for you to learn from them, whether you admit it or not. Along with that, I would recommend to encourage a culture of 360-degree mentorship and professional growth. Recognize and credit contributions fairly and create pathways for career advancement rather than become a hurdle for them. Otherwise, it is simple. You do not value them, they will go where they are respected and valued. But at the end of it, who's on the losing side? Well, you, because you've lost the opportunity to have such soldiers in your team who could have fought the toughest battles for you. So with that, we're coming to the end of this podcast. And today we've learned how high performers face unique challenges, how that can actually hinder their career growth trajectory and satisfaction. It is paramount, therefore, that leaders recognize these issues ahead of time and create a supporting environment that values and compensates high performance appropriately. For high-performing resources, and John, if you are listening to this, drawing boundaries, seeking recognition, and maintaining a healthy work-life balance are very, very crucial. So don't be afraid. Think like this. Whose career is it anyway? Nobody is coming to your rescue but you. So take charge, go have that heart-to-heart conversation with your manager, and choose peace over stress. To all others listening, thank you for tuning into this episode of All Things Leadership on the Learner Podcast. If you have your stories or thoughts to share on this topic, we would love to hear that. Please reach out to us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or via email. All the details are in the show notes. Hey, and before I let you go, if you're finding this valuable, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave us a review. I hope you will join us next week for another thought-provoking discussion. Until then, remember to always strive to be the learner.